This is Average Joe PT, and on last episode we talked about the quadratus laborum and all the exercises, the stretches, and what the do's and don'ts. Hopefully you'll watch that. I'll leave a link up there after you watch this episode. This episode specifically is going to be talking about two muscle groups that are initially causing your lower back pain. When you kind of come up to an upright position, all of a sudden you get that sharp stabby pain. It's coming from these two muscle groups, and we're going to go over a couple exercises that you can do to hopefully never have that happen to you in the first place. So stay tuned. These two muscles are the most important ones that you need to focus on when you're having low back pain. These two muscles are the erector spinae and the rotatory. Now, I'm certain you probably have never heard of those two muscles. Why? Because it's never in anybody's head to think of those two. And those are the two muscle groups that really are the initiation of your lower back pain in the first place. So let's go ahead and literally look at where the heck do these two muscles even reside or stay at. So we're going to zoom in real close here on me. And what we're going to do is they literally line each side of your spine. They literally attach right on your spine. And the erector spinae run the entire part of your lower part of your spine. And then also the rotatory is exactly on your spine too, but you're on an angle on either side of your spine. And they help do the rotatories rotate. That's really where that comes from. They actually start the initiation of movement at your spine is those rotatories. And as well as those erector spinae, they help come into an extension motion. And when you're bending forwards, they slow down your spine when you start to bend towards your toes. But when you come back up, that initiation of movement from your spine is coming from the erector spinae. So those are the two very important muscles that we want to focus on today and talk about when you're initially having that lower back pain. When you come up into extending position and all of a sudden you get that sharp grab and it nearly puts you down to your knees, it's coming from these two muscle groups initially. That's without having any radicular pain down your legs, no shooting numbness or burning. That's all coming from these two particular muscle groups. Now, if you're having those other symptoms, it's coming from the disc. It's pushed right on that. It's got that nerve really hot shooting down your leg. But if you ain't got that shooting down your leg, it's coming initially from those two muscle groups. So let's talk about those two muscle groups and ways that you can hopefully not have this happen to you. So the first thing we want to talk about are the three most important things that I always talk about. When you initially hurt yourself like that because you haven't listened to one of my videos, you want to do these three things. For the first 72 hours, the acute inflammatory phase, you want to ice, you want to rest, and you want to do anti-inflammatories. You have to do those three things before you do anything else. Don't care about what any other YouTuber says out there, an influencer. These three things have to happen physiologically. You have to allow the blood flow to come back in that area, the synovial fluid to come back in that area of the spine and those muscle groups, allow it to heal, allow it to recover for 3 days. Then you're going to start to do these couple exercises I'm going to show you today. So hopefully if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Ring the bell. I bring content a couple times a week. Hopefully bring some friends with you. I also do some research-based at least once a week on the topics that I'm talking about. I did one the other day on quadratus laborum if you're curious about that. I'll leave a link up there for you after the show. So let's talk about those two muscle groups. Now they're very tiny and you think, well, hell, they're not. They're just tiny. They're not the quadratus laborum, the giant muscle. It's not the latissimus dorsi. It's not that giant multifidus muscle that I've talked about before. How the heck are these two tiny muscles that run the entire spine causing me so much pain? Why? Because they are the engagers of your spine initially. They're not stabilizers. They're not the big movers like the multifidus, like the quadratus laborum. They are those tiny muscles that initially engage the joint, in this case the spine, to do what you want it to do. And if those are injured, you can forget about the rest of it. The rest of those muscles, those larger muscles, can try and compensate, and they will for you. You'll limp around like a dog got shot or something like that. But you got to target these two muscles when you initially are in the healing phase of a lower back problem without caveat nerve symptoms. If you're having nerve symptoms, that's a whole other category, and I got plenty of videos up there in my back library that you can look at in regards to herniations, disc issues, degenerative stuff. So, and I'll talk about that if you want me to. Leave a DM down below and I'll get you that. So let's talk about those two exercises for those two muscle groups, and here we go. All right, so what you want to do initially is you want to get down on all your hands and knees. Now, I have a pillow at my knees. Now, you could do this on the bed. All right, so it's, if you're having a lot of back pain and you want to do it. But to engage these two muscle groups, the movement has to be to where you're go ahead and you're rotating and extending your spine. And you're going to do it each direction. So I'm going to show you a couple of different views here of rotating and extending your spine. So that's specifically where you're initially engaging. You don't want no weights. You don't want no rubber bands. You don't want anything like that. You want no rubber bands. No body weight resistance except for the movement itself, that active movement that I'm showing you. Because they're very tiny muscles. Anything more than that, you're going to automatically engage the larger muscles. Those big muscles that I talk about. The lat muscle, the multifidus. So be mindful of that. The quadratus laborum, all those different muscles I talk about in my different episodes. You got to do this movement small and slow, and don't worry about anything that has to do with resistance. You worry about reps. So I want you to try and do at least 10 to 15 reps of each direction, and I want you to try and do them at least, just do them twice a day, and I want you to try and do them 3 or 4 times a week. You shouldn't have any pain with this. If you're having pain, you need to either reduce the reps, okay, or reduce the length or the greatness of the movement. Make the movement shallower, okay? So you can try it that way. Or you can go back to the ice, the rest, and the anti-inflammatories. So that's all a caveat. Now, obviously, if it's really bad, you need to go and see the doctor. That's liability here. This isn't a prescription for everybody because I didn't evaluate you. But those particular two muscle groups, and these are the particular exercises that you need to do if you want to not have that sharp, stabby pain when you do something like lift something, or maybe you just move just right, you cough just right, you sneeze just right, you have a bowel movement just right, not to be too gross. But those two muscle groups are really causing a lot of your problems. So, like I always say, Average Joe here, I want you to look up with Scully and keep smiling. See you next time, folks.